Just
Do we have a script?
I'm here. I was doing my hair, but I was doing my hair right now. You guys, I don't know what to tell you about his fedora. I think he's
Is
just
this
trolling
a
you
fedora?
at this
It's
point.
woven. No, I love this freaking hat. I paid money for this hat. This is a good hat.
Everyone says you're an MRA, and then you show up on the live stream in a fedora.
What is an MRA? Is that like some sort of food ration you get in the Navy?
Good question.
Oh no, I'm word playing. Is that
That's illegal.
probably shouldn't do that.
Wow,
Probably
on the
do that.
internet. Save your wordplay for your novel, I guess.
You know, I tried to write about the last week, but it literally it was 3 pages of puns, and I'm like, this is totally worthless drivel. Like I can't stop punning about this stupid pun. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a nice Paquette.
What kind? That's a rouge.
A Piquette?
Yeah, what is that? Is that like a mixture of a white and a red? Is that like a rosé or something?
I don't know how they make a rouge, but a Piquette is, I'm not going to explain this very well, so please don't be mad at me when I flub it. But they make it out of like the leftover grape skins, like after the wine is made. So it's like a very light, like it's a low
Is it bitter?
alcohol. It's sour and bubbly.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Oh, cool.
I like it.
So it's kind of like a reimagined, very slummy drink. It used to be like the drinks,
I mean, it's
but
like
now
it tastes
sculpted.
a bit like it is a natural wine, but it tastes like, you know how some natural wines are kind of like sour and bubbly a bit? They taste sort of more like juice than wine. It's sort of like that. Uh-oh, I just lost the lid.
And I just turned off my green screen.
It's too early to drink bourbon, which is normally what I drink on the live streams. But it's 5 p.m., which is such a bad time for me to live stream because, I mean, I've barely just gotten out of bed. I'm joking a little bit.
You're not. You're not.
I got out of bed at noon today.
What do you do at 3 o'clock in the morning? Are you typing away? Are you
I
investigating?
usually work until. Can everybody hear me? Okay? Do I sound quiet?
Am I heard? Am I heard?
I mean, I can move closer to the mic. I'm just not sure if I have to.
Look.
I usually work until like 2 a.m. And then I'll like stay up watching shows. I started watching this series about boxing last night I think it's called Kings. It's very good. I highly recommend. I mean, if you're interested in boxing.
Is it set in what era and what city?
It's it's not set in an era or city per se. Well, I guess sort of an era. It's like about the kind of boxers that changed boxing in the U.S. Hold on. Sorry, I'm distracted because I'm trying to look it up online.
60s, 70s,
No.
80s, 20s, 2000s. Like it's just like a decade. What are they wearing? Can you not peg fashion as somehow related to eras?
Okay, it's a 4-part series showcasing 4 champions who ushered in a boxing renaissance. So started like the late 70s and 80s.
Okay, interesting. Okay, and is it good?
I really like it. Yeah.
And what streaming service is it on?
I'm watching it on Crave, but that's a Canada thing. So I don't know. It might be available. Americans tend to get. I think like it might. I don't know. Americans tend to get better access to pretty much everything, including the vaccine.
Well, yeah, we don't have to snot phone our nurses either.
God, I had to do another one yesterday.
No!
Dude, somebody came to check up on me.
Wait, in person?
Yes, I was very rude to her.
Oh no, don't shoot the messenger.
Whatever, she should, like, what is she doing in this spying on Canadians job? Like, she can't find any other job.
Well, some people can't.
She buys.
It's policy. She's just doing what she's told, you know. It's just
well, that's the whole problem, isn't it? People are just doing what they're told.
Yep.
If everybody would stop just doing what they're told, then we wouldn't be in this situation, would we?
The banality of sniffles. It's a Hannah Arendt reference. How's it? What's the bouquet like? Are you laughing at me or are you like?
I'm laughing at you and your stupid inability to stop with the puns.
Oh, did I pun again?
Wait, I'm coughing. I'm muting.
I did have a song that I wanted to share, and since she's muted, it's a children's song that I wrote. Who would have thought there was so much to do that somewhere someone somehow might consider rude, and you know there's a lot that I'm not telling you that's inappropriate.
Okay, I wasn't really listening to that.
Good. I knew you'd want to listen to my art.
Somebody just says I'm gonna stuff you into the locker. What does that mean?
Oh yeah, they wanted me to. You're supposed to stuff me in the locker.
Like I'm a high school bully? Is that?
I'm a nerd. No, I'm a nerd.
Yes.
And you're gonna like show me. You're gonna put me in my place. What gave you that idea? Wait, hold on. What gave you?
Oh my god, you're embarrassing me.
I'm embarrassing you. Okay?
You're making me feel embarrassed.
Oh, good. Maybe that's something you need. You're standing on the shoulders of me, and I'm looking up your skirt. Of course, you should be a little red in the face.
Guys, he didn't just say that out of nowhere. That was something that somebody tweeted. Okay, wait. This is my main problem with you, and all the problems I have with you, is that I feel like I never get to finish a thought because you start making puns.
Okay, I'll stop.
Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. So this lady, she buzzed yesterday. And she was like,
we're back to snot face. Okay.
Here. This is not a nurse. This is like some lady who works for the government who treats Canadians like criminals and thinks that it's her right to come and check up to make sure I'm jailed inside my house and not like breathing on anybody, even though I've taken 500 of these fucking tests and I'm not sick. With COVID, anyway. She buzzes and is like, I'm here to, check up on you, blah, 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 blah. I need to ask you some questions. And I was like, man, I'm sleeping. Like,
wait, did she tell you she was coming?
No, she just buzzed my fucking apartment.
Like a surprise visit.
They show up to trick. Yes, this is what they do.
What the hell, man? Like some sort of weird.
This is why, like, I'm not just freaking out about this for no reason. It's Canada is insane on this COVID shit, and everybody's acting like it's normal, and it's not normal for government officials to show up at your house randomly and buzz you and demand that you let them in so that they can ask you questions about if you've gone anywhere, if you've seen any people. It's disgusting.
Yeah. No, I understand. Now I understand why you were rude to her. Other than
I'm not just mean to people for no reason.
No, you're not. You always have a reason.
Indeed. So I was like, I'm sleeping. Like, no. And she was like, I'm sorry that I have to come up and check. This is at like 11:30 a.m. or something. I was sleeping and I was pretty annoyed. And then I was like, ugh, fine. So she comes up. I'm very rude to her. She looks really scared of me. She's standing at the other end of the hallway with her mask on. I should have coughed on her. Like, and she's like, asking me, have you been anywhere? Have you had any visitors? I'm like, no. She's like, okay, thanks. Like, have a nice day. And I was like, creepy. And then she like scurried off.
Wait, you ejaculated the word creepy.
Yes, it was creepy.
But you expressed that in the moment to the government official.
Yes, I said, creepy.
Did she scurry a little note into her little waddle pad or whatever?
She just kind of ran away. Anyway, I really showed her.
You got your revenge. I feel bad for her still.
So, anyway. Okay, so let's get on to the real stuff.
Let's get flavorful.
What
do you want to talk about? What were we supposed to talk about?
I'm not drunk. I haven't even had a sip of the drink that I just poured. Why do people always think in these lives, in this, like a live stream that I did with you on your channel, someone was like, Megan, this is embarrassing. You're clearly drunk. And I was like, I have been drinking water this whole time. This is just what I'm like.
Did she call you a floozy?
You drunk whore. That's what they said.
Oh no.
No, they didn't say that. Well, I mean, people. Anyway. Speaking of whores,
Whoer. Did you ever watch The Sopranos? You know Ralphie?
I've seen The Sopranos, I think 3 or 4 times now. During COVID, I rewatched the whole series again for the 3rd or 4th. I think the 4th time.
Is this in Mexico or in?
No, this was in Vancouver before I left.
Okay. Yeah, you know Ralphie though, right?
Yes.
Bald, but you don't realize that until after he's dead.
Yes.
Spoiler
Ralphie's
alert.
awful.
Oh, I hated that. I hated the way. I actually this ties into it. The way that he would say that word, hooah. Like it's so like very particular, but that relationship with the call girl or the dancer, like makes me physically ill every time.
I know,
like I usually
so
skip that
brutal.
part. It's so brutal.
It's disgusting.
It's so brutal.
Yeah,
it's so brutal. So and I think it does represent. It probably accurately represents what some women go through that are in that business, in that prostitution.
Some women, jeez.
Well, okay, you can't say all women. A lot of women. But it's too many. Too many, no matter how many.
A
lot of women are going through that, or at the mercy of exploitative men who know no respect for their personhood at all.
No man who pays for a prostitute has respect for women.
Well, there's the man who pays for the prostitute, and then there's the man who's making money off the prostitute, which is even...
Well, he doesn't respect women either.
Yeah, he respects women even less, I would think, but maybe, I don't know. I have not really touched the prostitute issue. I have not interviewed... I've interviewed one porn star and one OnlyFans star, and I decided not to publish the porn star one.
Why?
I was not comfortable talking about that. I'm not comfortable actually delving into that. But she's the porn star is very successful, and she's actually a really sweet person, and she's in complete control. It seems like she's in complete control.
I don't
of her
really
situation.
care if they're sweet people or not. I mean, that's not my issue. Is not that I think that women in porn are like bad people necessarily. It's that
okay. Before we go into pornography, I'm just saying that this particular individual is actually very sweet, curious, and insightful. So it's just very weird to try to talk about the porn industry. We ended up talking about spirituality because I couldn't figure out how to talk about the porn industry because it's like it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, I could probably talk about it. I mean, I've talked to lots of women who've been in prostitution and the sex trade and left. Really? I've talked to people who are still in prostitution, but not in an interview format, mostly because those kinds of people are not the kinds of people who want to go and do an interview about being in prostitution because they don't want to be in prostitution and they don't want to like advertise it publicly.
And how did this sample get into prostitution?
I mean, I think, well, it depends on who you're talking about. Like women who are kind of more in the high-end escort category tend to just do it for money. Like they need money, so they start doing it. The women who are working like the streets tend to get in when they're kids, when they're teenagers. They come from harsh homes or abusive situations,
unstable, just really unstable.
Yeah, and are preyed upon by these guys who can tell that they're vulnerable, and they're like shower them with love and pretend that they're their boyfriends, and then sell them off, and then they're trapped. They're sort of groomed by their stepfathers or other family members or things like that through sexual abuse, and then they kind of start pimping them out in a way to their friends and gross stuff like that, right? And it just
there's an extreme position, which I don't understand how you would implement it, of zero prostitution. That would be like the extreme position. Some people would say that would be the beginning of the situation, but I would think that how would you even get to there? Do you have any ideas of how to get to zero prostitution?
I don't know that we can get to zero prostitution I mean, I would like that to exist in an ideal world, but I don't know if there's any point in talking about ideal worlds. We should talk about the world that we live in. So I think the actual goal, I mean, feminists, radical feminists, if you want to call them that. Again, I don't identify as a radical feminist. I barely want to identify myself as a feminist anymore. But you could say radical feminists would call themselves abolitionists. So women who advocate for the Nordic model that was started in Sweden would call themselves abolitionists in that they want to abolish prostitution. But I think what we really are aiming for is just to reduce the numbers of men who are paying for sex and obviously reduce the numbers of women girls who are being exploited in the sex trade. But the unfortunate reality is that we know that we're not truly going to see an end to prostitution. It's just too huge of an industry and there's way too much demand. Even if you criminalize it, prostitution still happens all over the place.
That's the interesting thing about the Nordic model. It's a more honest assessment of criminalizing, because if you're criminalizing, from what I gather, if you criminalize prostitution, then the prostitutes who are already the lowest prostitutes on the totem pole have to contend with the entire apparatus of the law as well as their lives to begin with. So you try to relieve their suffering a little bit by decriminalizing the selling of their bodies and maintaining the criminality, or criminalizing the buying of their bodies. It's a demand side tactic which tries to relieve the burden of the female, probably some males too, but whoever ends up in the position of selling themselves for sex.
Yeah. It's the Nordic model criminalizes the purchase of sex. It criminalizes the traffickers. It criminalizes the pimps and the brothel owners, and it decriminalizes the women in prostitution because, we recognize that women are not in prostitution because they want to be in prostitution for the most part, and what they need is access to services that can help them get out and access to support. And
do you make a distinction in your head when you're thinking about prostitution between the escorts who elect into it for financial gain as opposed to the unfortunate women who are tricked into it or preyed upon by the industry, or is it all the same? Is it all the same?
I mean, it's all connected. It's all interconnected. Okay. I mean, the problem to me, I know a lot of men and a lot of I don't know what you want to call them. Third wave feminists, people who advocate for decriminalization or legalization of prostitution, they love to talk about women and women's choices. And it's but what about the women who choose it? And to me, whatever, if you want to choose it, then choose it. Good for you. No one's stopping you. There's plenty of men who want to pay for sex. You're never going to be lacking for dudes who want to pay for sex. Especially if we reduce the numbers of women in the trade who don't want to be there, then you're going to have even more demand. So you should love that. Good for you. What I have a problem with, thank you. I like to think of myself as a very good arguer. Too good sometimes.
This is why I try to avoid arguing with you.
Well, I mean, that was sort of a joke about.
Well, I was joking on top of your joke. So.
Okay. So, yeah. I mean, my problem is that I have a problem with the idea that men should pay for sex or should want to pay for sex. That anybody should be treated as, a body that you can use, whether or not that body wants to be used. I mean, we're talking about a human being, but in prostitution, women are treated like bodies. They're treated as vessels for male use. And, men like to lie to themselves and be like, oh, those women like it. No, none of those women like it. None of those women want you. None of these women are getting pleasure out of it. Women who are in prostitution, even by choice, even these high-end escorts. I talked to a woman last year was trying to get out of the trade. She makes really good money. And she's just sort of she's like, I can't have sex anymore. I can't date anyone. I haven't had sex in years. Sex to me, I just have such a negative association with it because it's something that I do with these men that I don't want and who don't respect her. I think men men who pay for sex really delude themselves into thinking that this. I think they lie to themselves a lot. I mean, because I hear, when I talk about these things with men in my life, some of them get it, and a lot of them are like, "Oh, but some of them just like it. Some of them like," and it's like, no,
oh, really? Okay.
none of these women like it. Give me a break. Like, just think about it. Like, would you want to be having sex with strange men for money? Like, no, you wouldn't. Like,
the problem with this particular discussion is that I cannot peer into the head of everybody. I can't peer into their head. So I don't want to assume that they like it or they dislike it. And I fall on the side of, if you like it, do you really like it? Or is there something going on, right? And I don't want to be the person who's projecting there's something wrong with you that you would sell your body for sex. Because I want to respect their agency, respect their choices, right? Because I'm supposed to respect the women's choices. But there's something, I'm like, well, how did you end up getting into that? How did you end up doing that? I would be very fascinated by a discussion between you and Ayla. I don't know if you know her, but she's in Seattle, and
Ayla. Ayla
she was making
Seattle.
She was making 100,000. She's actually kind of somewhat famous on the Twitter sphere, but she was making about about $100,000 a month through OnlyFans.
You tried to tell me to interview this chick. Why would I want to interview a woman on OnlyFans who is into being on OnlyFans? Like, so I can be like, so she can tell me how great it is. Like, I'm not interested. I'm sorry. There's something like, it's not mentally healthy. People don't engage in this kind of behavior. I mean, sure. I'm not saying I wouldn't talk to her. I'll talk to anybody. I shouldn't say that. I'll talk to anybody, but I didn't like the way that you told me, that's so interesting. I mean, she's making all this money. Isn't that great? Like, that's how I read it. And I was like, nah, that's not interesting to me at all.
I don't like correcting people who misread me, but I would beg your forgiveness for proposing that. I would really be interested in seeing how her thoughts and your thoughts on this particular issue connect and disconnect through conversation.
Sure.
That's all I'm saying. She's very articulate. You're very articulate. It would be really interesting. There would be some sort of interesting insight from watching such a discussion.
Possibly. I'll watch that interview, I guess. But I mean, so my problem is, I've been writing about and talking about these issues for a really, really long time.
Are you bored of them yet?
10 years. Yeah, a bit. But I mean, it's ever present in my analysis of everything. Yeah. I just I can't bring myself to write about it that much anymore because I've already said everything that I have to say. Like, I'll just be repeating myself at this point. But, it certainly, I think it's like a really horrible problem that's impacted. These puns are going to get you into more trouble, but
it was right there, though. You actually pronounced the word.
In terms of, I just think that it's so bad for society and the way that it's been mainstreamed and just incorporated into young women's lives so wholly and completely through, things like OnlyFans and through like how these girls behave on dating apps and sending nudes and sexting and like FaceTime horny shit with dudes that they don't know, or maybe dudes that they know a little bit, and the way that young women think that they have to engage in sex with men, and like the way they think they have to look in bed, and like this like waxing your entire body so that you look like a porn star, this like, wait, I'm not done yet. And so I feel like I'm being mean to you today. I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't.
You should. That's what they want. They really want that.
That's true. They'll probably. I'm trying to win them back by being mean to you. It's so easy. I'm joking. I'm not. But and and the way that they pose on Instagram, that they're constantly sexualizing and posting selfies and just this validation. Even if they're not even naked, just even that the culture of women constantly posting selfies of themselves, trying to look like hot and attractive to strange dudes on the internet and seeking that kind of attention and validation. Like, to me, it's sort of all interconnected. And I think it's so unhealthy. Like, I think it's actually really, really bad for women's self-esteem.
Why come?
Why come?
How come? Why come?
Oh,
It's a
it's like, is
version of
that some kind of pun?
no. But I
Because
guess
I
it
think
actually
that
fits into the whole thing.
I think that if your self-esteem depends on external validation from people that don't matter to you, that have nothing to do with your life, that don't care about you, that don't know you, then you're not actually going to build self-confidence or self-esteem. I think self-esteem and confidence comes from things like more sort of internal things, like getting better at things, like developing new skills, like challenging yourself, like doing scary things and like failing and I just wrote, I tried to write about this at Feminist Current last night, actually, because I've been trying to sort it out recently. Like, what does real empowerment look like? And it was because the last live stream that we did, I think I said, like, I have a very robust ego, and somebody was like, how do you do that? And I was like, well, first of all, you just sort of get older and you just stop caring so much what other people think. But also, it's like, I've chosen in my life to take a lot of risks and to do a lot of things that I'm scared to do, and like been okay. And I've been like attacked and challenged and gone through hard times and stressful situations and kept going and come out on the other end. And I don't hide away from scary things. And, and there's things that I'm good at, and there's things that I like about myself. And that you can do that in all sorts of ways, through like sports and like physical challenges, or like learning to, I don't know, fix a car or whatever it is. It can be a million things, but it's never going to be from other people telling you look hot, and that's fleeting, right? It's superficial, it's not real, it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean anything. But it, like how you're not hot for your whole life. You get old, anything you could get sick, you could get in an accident. I mean, that's just not a stable way to build any kind of sense of self. And it doesn't have anything to do with you. You look hot. That's an accident practically. And I mean, there's stuff like makeup and plastic surgery and so on and so forth. But
the prelude to the dust up over a pun that I made on Twitter a few days ago was me in an interview with Kara Dansky. And I was misconstrued, or I think I was misconstrued, but I was trying to figure out her philosophy. And so I started asking questions. I don't know exactly how I asked this, but it was in the context of a very specific buildup of questions and of exploring like her version of feminism. And I proposed, or I asked, does a woman have the ability to reframe the situation that she finds herself in with men, right? And that is important question, because it seems what you're trying to say is that women need to reframe their relationship to male attention and not put so much stress on that. And so I'm constantly being criticized for saying that women have the freedom to reframe male attention, as though that actually diminishes the awfulness of male attention. It might actually diminish the awfulness of male attention, because you might choose not to see it as that awful. But, being yelled at on the street and said, you're cute, or something really worse, saying something like, can I have some of that piece of whatever? Like being distilled into that, I can see how that's demeaning of one. But it's the flip side of the Instagram. You're on the Instagram, young women are looking for that attention. On the street, they're saying they don't want that attention. But you're saying that attention doesn't matter no matter what. It doesn't matter no matter what. It's besides the point. Now, there's a lot of different things to tug apart about that, and I do want to respect any sort of trauma that people have. But how do you deal with negative male attention? And is it your choice how you deal with that?
I don't think I get a lot of negative male attention. I think that most of my male attention has been positive male attention. Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes I think that Canada is quite different than the US. Like, I find that the way that men will behave towards me in a place like New York is not how men behave in a place like Vancouver. Like, Vancouver really isn't a high sexual harassment place. I've had scary experiences with men where I've been threatened or followed or yelled at, but I wouldn't call that sexual harassment per se, despite some of it. It's like, I'm gonna rape you, you bitch. Like,
but
those are guys who are high.
You can
and
tell
drunk
that
and
it's
mentally
more
ill on the downtown east side or on the bus or whatever, and that really is really scary and threatening. But it doesn't bother me if a man looks at me or hits on me or tells me I look hot or attractive. Like, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why you. Maybe if you're younger, you don't know how to handle that kind of stuff. And maybe, again, like, it's tough with these kinds of things because people deny the fact that as you get older, you just get better at things and you stop caring about things so much and you stop being so triggered and offended by things and you just can kind of relax a little bit. And it's like, you know, I'll just have a conversation with these people. Half the time I don't even notice. Like, I was walking with a friend of mine in Mexico, in like the town that I live in. And she was like, oh, can we like walk around this way? I don't want to walk this way down the sidewalk. And I was like, what? Like, whoa, why can't we just walk down the sidewalk? We're already on the sidewalk. We're trying to get to that place at the other end of the sidewalk. She was like, oh, I don't want the taxi drivers looking at me. And I was like, what? I was like, I never even noticed. I never even noticed. And why would I, I don't care. Look at me. Like, I'm not naked. Like, who cares? Like, you know, I don't know, like, what is it? They're not being threatening and they're not saying threatening or gross things. Like, I don't know. But I think some women have different experiences with sexual harassment than I have. It's different depending on where you live, like, for sure. Men just don't super behave like that so much in Vancouver. We're more reserved, probably in all of Canada, but I can't say because I've only lived here.
I'm probably going to get crucified for this, but you can only get crucified so many times before you get reborn again to be crucified again. But it might be somewhat the case that passive men have led Canada to the place that it's at right now. Like with the
sorry,
COVID
I totally missed that. What?
It's a question. It's a hypothesis, and I'm allowed to make hypotheses, right? Hypotheses.
Sure.
It might be the case that very polite, subdued men have allowed Canada to get to the place where it's at.
Oh,
right.
Exactly.
Now.
Yeah. Like the sort of passive, like non-abrasive, like Canadian personality.
And that's the question about men. What do you do with the men? There's this distribution of men, to quote Paglia, you don't have a female Mozart, just like you don't have a female Dahmer. There's something about men that if we can you don't, there's this distribution of all these different traits, and you find a lot of highly intelligent men and highly stupid men, because men on the distribution kind of like spread out across the distribution on all these different, like, violence and intelligence and all these different attributes. Women kind of cluster in the middle. Most women are kind of marginally, like, you have extreme women, but not as many extreme women. You don't have extreme, and this is Paglia.
Oh, there's a lot of stupid women. There's a lot of stupid women.
And this is the nuance of the discussion. This is the nuance of the discussion, is that just because there's a distribution doesn't mean that women don't fall there. It's just you're going to have more stupid men than stupid women. You're going to have more genius men than genius women.
Why?
Because of the way that because evolutionarily speaking, the male is more variated. The woman is more stable as I guess it's called a phenotype. They're just created more stably. They're more well-rounded, and that's where you see these distributions of wealth. You have much more wealthier men and much more poorer men. Like, most homeless people are poor. Most CEOs are male. Most homeless people are male, and most CEOs are male. There's this distribution where you have very few women at the top and at the very bottom. And in certain forms of feminism, and this is one of the interesting bits that Julie Bindel said, with her contrasting UK feminism with United States feminism, is that UK was focusing on the lower part of the class. They're focusing on women, poor women.
Like, Americans' feminism focuses on,
was more like the top, the CEOs, the glass ceiling,
more women into companies, and like a female president, yada yada yada.
Yeah. which
Okay.
I just thought was interesting about the character of those two countries. But my point is, and maybe it's a question, if we can't actually stop men from buying sex. We can't stop men from being violent. Maybe do you think that that's possible? That we could
Not
stop?
completely, no.
Okay.
I think that we can and should discourage men from buying sex and being violent as best we can, but no,
Yeah.
I don't think we can completely stop that. But I think that it seems very obvious to me that if we criminalize paying sex and if we stop trying to normalize this as like, oh, it's no big deal. It's just like any other service. You're just paying for a massage or a coffee or whatever, which is what we've really tried to do in the West.
Sex
and
work.
this like, oh, don't shame people. And it's like, well, maybe you should be ashamed if you're participating in something harmful and exploitative and you're hurting other people or dehumanizing people. It's just, it's really in large part the fault of third wave feminism, because third wave feminism told men that prostitution was okay, and even that you're helping these women because they're poor and they need money. So instead of just giving them money, you should put your dick in their mouth, and that really helps them out a lot. Women love strange dicks in their mouths.
That's actually a great little clip. That's some wonderful writing right there. But what was it about third wave feminism? Do you understand the ideas of that animated it? Is that the same as liberal feminism? Because this is the interesting thing about feminism, is that you have this radical feminism, liberal feminism, gender critical feminism. You have all these different branches, and they're not really left and right in this traditional sense. They all have different economic policies. But third wave feminism is different than second wave feminism. And what are the basic ideas that allow it to start to normalize sex work and maybe even bleed into the trans rights movement? Or gender ideology, I should say.
I think third wave feminism began as a rejection of second wave feminism. So third wave feminism was which started kind of in the 90s and was like, not your mother's feminism, like this is old, lame, like this is we don't want that. We want a new, sexy, fun feminism. We're not anti-men, we're not anti-sex, which is ironic because it seems like a lot of men perceive feminism today as being very anti-men, and I think it is in a lot of ways. But this is sex positivity came out of third wave feminism. This idea that it was like, that anything that a woman does should somehow be politicized and therefore should be feminist. Again, I just wrote about this again, but I've written about this a lot in my career. Like, they decided that you shouldn't judge or shame. You shouldn't victim blame, which essentially was just a means of shutting down any conversation or critical thought about women's choices and why they make these choices and why they might participate in these systems. And then ended up sort of making it okay for men to, consume pornography and pay for sex and objectify women because those women were choosing it. And if they chose something, then it was inherently empowering and inherently feminist. And this is not how the second wave feminists perceived things. They perceived pornography and the sex trade in general and objectification in general as inherently harmful to women, and as something that should be challenged.
Inherently harmful. I mean, okay, there's a little leap, like a conceptual leap that I'm missing here. That I understand the pornography and the prostitution. I almost said sex work. I won't call them whores, though. I know the language really matters here. But then objectification. There's something about objectification that's interesting that I've watched feminists mull over. Don't objectify women, but you objectify yourself, and you objectify men. This is just how the brain works. We objectify each other all the time.
I don't objectify men. No. I reject that. Or I mean, maybe I don't. Like, I don't.
You made fun of my fedora because that causes me to.
That's not objectifying. It's because
it is. You're assigning me. Yeah, exactly. Which is objectifying. You're reducing me into the FX.
Other people are going to see this and be like, "Why?" Okay. Like, we think we're trying to put you into this category of this anti-feminist MRA kind of person, and you're playing into that stereotype.
I lost my hat.
Oh no.
Well, I can see that
I objectify men. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm open to that.
Okay.
I've missed things once or twice before in my life.
I'm not going to apologize for my Twitter puns. I'm not going to do it, but I
No,
will
I don't think you
apologize
should.
in person. I will apologize in the sense to maintain a good dialogue. So I'm sorry if this is
I don't think you should apologize for your Twitter puns. I think it's fucking ridiculous that people go after you for making a joke, even if it's not a good joke. Honestly, I don't even remember what the joke was, but it was just like, this is just some stupid joke. Like, you guys are freaking out. Like, you just, I mean, come on. It's not like you think women are literal whores. I don't like that word either. People are saying, I don't like that word. It's like, I don't like that word. But, like,
we could talk about that. I don't think it's interesting.
Well,
I don't think it's interesting. Should we just talk about it? Okay, before we get to that, which is the story. I'm sorry. I don't like speaking in direct tones, because if I say you, it might cause this argument. So I'm sorry for saying you, but I've noticed that you pay a lot of attention to your appearance.
Indeed.
That is a form of objectification.
Yes, I agree.
You're turning yourself into a very beautiful object. You're appreciating and producing a good object. So objectification within limits is necessary. It's a part of the way that male and female identify one another, appreciate each other and themselves. It gives you self-confidence to do that. And it also attracts a certain level of respect and a certain grade of attention when you produce yourself in a certain way that you appreciate. So that is what I think of when I think of objectification. I think that there's extremities of that where I reduce you, let's say I'm the man, I reduce you totally, and I've done this jestingly, to some sort of buxom trollop, right? Where I reduce you into an object that's purely valued based on how attractive and desirable you are. I flirt with that. I flirt with your attractiveness and your desirability, but I don't reduce you to that. But still, that is a form of objectification. Taking objectification too far is wrong, but to abolish objectification, I think is absolutely, it just doesn't make any sense how you would stop people from objectifying other people.
I don't think that wanting to look attractive to the opposite sex is necessarily objectifying.
So you're using objectification as the extremity.
On the internet with my breasts out and the camera was angled to focus on my breasts, then I would be objectifying myself.
But you do that a little bit.
No,
just a tease.
Don't ever do that.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I post my breasts on the internet. I do not post my breasts on the internet. Have I? In a serious way, or in a joking way?
No. In a little bit. Like the art of objectification is not going all out and being obvious. It's being about
everyone in the comments is really mad.
They're really mad. I'm not going to look at the comments.
No. Guys, Ben's not even looking. Ben, sorry, I know you don't like to call yourself that or be called that.
Okay, I jestingly said.
It for myself. I'm not going to look at the comments either. If you guys keep
don't hold on. Before we get to the Sutha thing. You understand your power. You understand the power of the male gaze. You understand the power that appearing attractive has over men. You understand that. It seems like from what you just said that you don't really pay that much attention to it, but you pay enough attention to it to play with it. It's a playful objectification. You're allowing yourself to be objectified to a certain extent, but not beyond into the realm of being dehumanized.
I'm not going to try that hard. I mean, I'm not going to go out. I mean, when I was younger, I totally did a lot. I want to look attractive, but I also, I don't know. I'm not going out in outfits specifically because I want somebody to stare at my boobs.
No, I'm not saying that, but you're aware of the power of the breast, and you're aware of if you present it in a certain way, you'll get a certain amount of attention, but not too much.
I don't want to be tacky.
Yeah, but you're still aware that it has a significance. What you're saying,
but that's hardly what I'm talking about when I talk about objectification. Objectification, like male gaze theory, comes from film theory. So it's like the way the camera focuses on a woman's body or pans down a woman's body. So when I talk about objectification, I'm more talking about like imagery than wanting to look attractive and attract men in real life, like wanting to look pretty. Maybe I have it wrong. Maybe I'm missing something more about objectification, but that's just not what I mean, and that's not how I think about it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. I was just trying to put objectification on a spectrum where we're never fully free of it, but we don't want to be tacky with it. And beyond tacky, the next step is dehumanization, where a woman is purely sexual. And there's nothing other, and the way that the camera, the way that the man engages with the woman on every step is through desire, or through some sort of achieving of a gratification of a lower sort. So, but objectification, I don't think you completely divorce yourself from objectification, and the fact that you can't even put that on a spectrum leads to the problem where you have a lot of very radical ideas that are spinning off into nonsense.
Okay, I see what you mean. I suppose there is some kind of spectrum, and I think it probably makes it hard to have these conversations when you're saying, no, this is this and this is that, and there's probably some stuff in between. But I don't remember where we were going with this conversation.
Okay, did you want to leave the conversation or lead it?
Well, okay.
Are the comments
distracting? Yes. I'm trying to not look anywhere. I mean, like, I think that there's nuance in every conversation and every area, and I think that I used to not see things that way, and I think a lot of women who are new to radical feminism don't see things that way, and you can see that in the comments. I mean, people who are sort of like have just discovered these arguments are like, no, this is this and this is bad, and like there's no other conversation, and I'm like, there's always a conversation. There's always a conversation.
Should I criticize feminism?
Sure. Knock yourself out. I'm not going to tell you what to do, Benjamin. You dig your own grave.
There's certain trigger words. There's certain trigger words that cause a very specific reaction. If you say this one thing, you're going to get outrage. If you say this other thing, you're going to get outrage. It's very mapped out. It's very plain. If you use the word, and my original feminist sin, my fall from feminist grace, and I ingratiated myself into feminist grace, and then I fell from grace, was by offhandedly remarking that I rely on the emotional intelligence of my close female friends.
I remember that one. Right.
And that and then I was saying that it seems like my most valuable aspect is that when they bring me a problem, I look at it strategically, but I use the word rational. And that word rational meant that I was calling women irrational. And therefore, they automatically assumed. And the same thing with victim blaming. If you ever blame the victim, you're automatically put into the box of evil. It's a very simplistic algorithm. It's a very simplistic algorithm with a bunch of triggers that mean automatically this person's bad, over and over and over again. And I don't operate that way, so I play around. I'm always playing around with words. I don't restrain my wordplay. I don't. I hear a sound, I put it with another sound, I put it together. I'm a poet. I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a feminist. I'm not an anti-feminist. I'm not an MRA. I'm just somebody who likes language. So, but with feminism specifically, there are certain sounds if you put together, it causes this entire reaction. It's very interesting to me. As a movement, it's formed around reacting to certain forms of communication, to certain forms of language, which comes down to me using the word whore. But I used the word whore in a very specific way where I reduced it into a sound and I made it rhyme with another word, which for me makes it no longer the word whore. It makes it something else, which is what we've discussed about trying to find the correct way to deal with prostitution.
So tell me what the tweet was.
It was, it was the Nordic model. Oh man, I had it right here. I asked it as a question too. I was an assertion. And this is the other thing. This is an interesting thing about how I'm being read. I'm asking questions and people are assuming that I'm making statements.
Totally. I
Constantly.
mean, I think that's
I'm
what
asking a
happened
question.
with the Karen situation. Karen, sorry, Kara.
Care.
Is that
Yeah.
I think that you were asking a question and people assumed that it was a leading question and it assumed that you were expressing your
They're assuming,
opinion rather than asking a question.
and this is really interesting
And
because
maybe you were. I don't know. But I mean, I think people do need to engage. I assume that people are engaging in good faith and not assume what's going on in their brains and attach opinions and beliefs to those
there's been
people
a
just because
phenomenal amount
they
of
assume.
assumption of intent throughout this really stupid internet controversy. I think it's very fascinating how much intent has been ascribed to me. I'm an abuser. I'm a porn addict. Somebody called me a porn
Wow.
addict. I don't know how they derived
I'm
that from
pretty sure
anything I've done.
Benjamin doesn't like pornography, you guys.
I
He's a real
don't really.
prude.
I don't understand it. But I'm not ready to talk about that conversation. I haven't had that conversation. I'm an abuser. I'm a rape apologist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even women who thought that my tweet was something to either laugh off or laugh at. Let me say that again. Laugh at or laugh off. Even the women who said it's not a big deal have been called the worst names in the book. Every word except whore. They've
Oh
been
my
called
God, yeah.
they've been called dick panderers, which is basically a whore. The
Dick
people, the women,
licker.
dick lickers. The women,
Handmaiden. What else did I get called? Listen, you guys. You can be as mad as you want, but the way that women engaged with me because I didn't defend what you said. I just I opposed the attacks on you because I opposed this kind of behavior in cancel culture, and I thought that people were being
that's the
fucking
bigger
ridiculous.
That's
And then I was called all these really misogynist, sexist things by women. So it's like,
incredible.
man,
It's
you want to call
incredible.
yourself a feminist and then you want to talk to other women like this? Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. You can be as mad as you want, but like your
Yeah.
behavior is not acceptable to me, and I'm not interested in engaging with people who treat women like that.
That belies something deeper than feminism. It's a certain mindset that says that if you are on the right side of history or on any sort of topic, you can do whatever terrible thing to your opponent, even to the point of violating every value that you hold. Like it excuses you to be absolutely misogynist if you're defending feminism, which is not a real thing. I did not attack any individual woman. I did not attack even the Nordic model. I made a joke based on a rhyme, but that caused people to think that I am somehow in the wrong and the enemy.
You have to say what the tweet is, because otherwise people are going to be watching and they're not going to believe you, and they're going to be like, well, you clearly said the word whore and you shouldn't say the word whore.
I didn't say the word whore.
Oh,
Okay. This is
See,
the stupid tweet.
I saw the tweet, but I don't really remember what it was.
Can I give the backstory to this?
Yes.
So I interviewed this really great guy, Paul Rossi. If you guys want to look at the interview, it's Paul Rossi. He stood up to critical race theory being taught in a high school level, and he divulged some very disturbing stuff that's being taught to high schoolers. This is much bigger deal than what we're talking about right now. You should look up Paul Rossi or Rossi. Rossi. So I interview Paul, and
I don't know. I don't know who this is. Sorry, I was just
Rossi.
anyway, whatever.
At the end, so I'm in an interview. I ask questions. That's my job, is to ask questions that don't lead somebody to where I want them, but lead me to understanding them. That's every motivated question, is to get me to understand, and therefore the audience to get to understand a deeper level of the person. So anyways, I threw off to end the conversation because we were just having a good time and rambling. I'm like, so what's something that you think people should pay attention to? Or something that would enlighten or enrich people out there. And he pointed me to this writer, this television writer, David Milch, who did a series of lectures in, I think it was 2002 or something like that. And I have the playlist on my channel if you want to look at them. And this guy's the writer of Deadwood and of NYPD Blue, and he's also the author of several other TV series. And through these lectures, he talks about his experience, and they're really angry, but he talks about how you engage with the process of being creative. Anyways, it was very nourishing for me. And then I'm like, well, let's watch Deadwood again. Did you ever watch Deadwood? It's like The Sopranos.
Yeah, I think I watched the first season or maybe the first 2 seasons, and then I didn't get all the way through. I found that too misogynist and objectifying, to be honest.
Super hard to get through, and then you just get into it. The language is crass. He uses the word, and I'm putting these in quotes, cocksucker, cunt, and motherfucker, and everybody who says those words really leans into the ugliness of those words. So in one context, you could say cunt, and it wouldn't be offensive, but the way that they say cunt it's really digging into that. Motherfucker, cocksucker. They really dig into those really hard Germanic sounds. So it is really explicitly a hard form of language use.
Gotcha. I mean, I was just going to say, I mean, the word cunt, for example, you know, I've said the word cunt lots of times in my life, and, you know, people can say...
Can you count them on a hand? Or?
No, I'm sure more times than that. And, you know, people have said it in conversation and blah, 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 blah. It means something different in the UK, for example. But
in Australia,
the word cunt can be highly misogynist and offensive if it's used in it. Like, I've been called a cunt by boyfriends, and it's like, man, I wasn't even that I was offended. Like, it wasn't that I was hurt by it. It's like, you're saying something misogynist to me intentionally, like in a misogynist, like you're saying it as an attack on me, like, you cunt. Like, it's not okay for you to say that to me in that way. I mean,
does that, like, in retrospect, does that show the breakdown of reason? They no longer have an argument. They no longer have a reason. So they're just basically, you know, trying to slap you.
Yeah. They're just trying to hurt me. And that just makes me think they're weak. Like, this is what we talked about a bit, I think. Yeah. Wait. Oh no, I don't know if I talked about it with you. I think I maybe talked about it with Nancy Jo Sales. Like, I was like, you know, a lot of my relationships, when they end because I've lost respect for that person. And once you don't respect your partner, I mean, you're done. Like, you can't continue to you can't have a love relationship, an intimate relationship with somebody that you don't respect. And, you know, a lot of that is like, you behave in that way because you've become weak, and you're just looking for like the cheapest way to, and it doesn't work on me. Because I'm not going to be hurt by that stuff. I'm just going to think like, wow, you're going out of your way to try to hurt me in such a cheap way and to attack me because, you know, I was being attacked by him because I was a feminist. So he knew that he really knew it was not acceptable to call me a cunt. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, no. Like... Well,
to bring that back, that's male weakness right there. What you're describing is male weakness, is to attack. Like, there's no more argument.
You're insecure. Yeah. You have nothing to say. You've been out, like, argued by me or whatever, and you feel threatened by me. So you're going to go to this cheap thing.
The opposite and inverse and equal part to that is women trying to police the language of men that's not using that at all, is to demand men speak like them and use their language code. To be triggered by a word is a form of weakness. That's what I mean. To be triggered by a word or a phrase and to let that phrase or word, divorce it from its context and zero in on, here's the feminist argument. Here's the battleground. I finally have a man to call misogynist, or this is hurting me. Using the word orthodoxy is hurting women.
Yeah,
it's
give me
destroying all of women.
Your feelings.
That's a very weak.
I don't believe anybody was offended by that tweet. I think people were looking for a reason to attack and start drama, which is when people behave in this kind of behavior online, that's what they want. They want to start drama.
It's tetherball. They just want to hit a ball.
Yeah, like, it's like, you know, I don't believe anybody seriously thought that you were being misogynist. I don't believe anybody seriously was offended by that. I think there was an intentional misreading because they want somebody to take down. They don't like you. They think that you're getting, I don't know, too much attention from certain women or feminists. And, you know, sorry, but the truth is that when people engage, and I say this as a person who's engaged in this kind of behavior. So I think I do know why people engage in this kind of behavior because I know why I engaged in this kind of behavior. Like, you're looking to build a platform by tearing somebody else down. And that's why women behave like that to me also. Oh, I'm going to take Megan down. Like, this bitch doesn't deserve this platform. It's like, well, maybe I do. I've worked really hard for a really long time. If people want to listen to me, then there's nothing you can do about it. You can try to cancel me and destroy me over and over and over again. You certainly have for many years, but I don't care. I'm going to keep doing my work. I'm going to keep telling the truth, even if it pisses people off. I'm going to keep trying to act with integrity and be myself. And I'm not going to be who you want me to be. Sorry.
You know, something really interesting happened today. I had an interview with a detransitioner, a female. She went from female to male, or took male hormones. I don't know where the testosterone comes from. I've never asked that question, so I wonder where they derive this. Is it from men? Do men line up and you donate your testosterone?
Like they're sucking the testosterone out of men's balls or something?
Maybe this is where all these soy boys are coming from. The medical industry's hungry for testosterone. Anyways, so she transitioned to male identified, and then she detransitioned. It was a very, very deep interview, like a lot of these interviews are, and it was very different from normal interviews. But YouTube allows me to post a video and then do set it up to play in a couple of days, and then there is a trailer that I play, and I picked the wrong trailer. She said that I don't regret my transition, I don't regret my surgeries, because I wouldn't be where I am had I not made my choices. I've embraced every single choice I've made. And that was, I thought that was a really different view. And I put that on the channel for the trailer. So before people, and that was like a 90-second clip, before people even watched the interview, they went through, there was these couple people, and I'm assuming they're male, and they really argued really hard, and they tore her down, and they commented on her voice and her appearance, and made all these logical arguments against her. And they were acting in a way, whether or not they were being true to themselves or speaking their truth or actually being honest and pointing out the truth, whether or not they were right or not, it caused the entire interview to be tainted by criticism. It was no longer an open experience. It was no longer, let me just listen to you and ask questions so I can understand you better. Everything was now a fight. And I bring that up because while I was taunting people, and I did not taunt people with the orthodoxy thing. I did not taunt anybody. It was just an idea. I woke up in the morning. Somebody had said orthodoxy in my freaking dream, because I've been watching all this Deadwood, and they say whore like 20 times a minute. And somebody said orthodoxy. I'm like, what does that mean? Oh, it must be the Nordic model. The Nordic model is the proper way to deal with prostitution. Therefore, it's a orthodoxy. If anybody doesn't know what orthodoxy is, it's just a correct pattern of belief or thinking. It's the right way to think about prostitution. So if I would have said pro-orthodoxy, but there's no pun there. If I would have used the word prostitute instead of whore, would there be any reaction? But
I mean, okay, you guys, this is what the tweet said. So, the Nordic model, is that considered a orthodoxy?
That's all it is. It's very simple. And then I go through and I explain
I don't think it's offensive, and it wasn't intended to be offensive. And so
no.
I don't understand all the drama around this.
The second tweet I did, and I don't like the story being about me. The story should actually be about why prostitution is bad, and raising awareness about the situation of women and these issues. It should not be about a man. The
conversation can be anything. I mean, of course, that's the conversation I think that is important. But I don't even think it's appropriate to say the conversation shouldn't just only be, the conversation can be whatever. People can talk about whatever they want. Is that that's...
I like
you're
you,
just
Megan
gonna
Murphy.
piss everybody.
No, that was great. You said two things that are really great. One was about cocksucking, but this one was like phenomenal.
Oh, the dick in the mouth. Yeah. I can't with this anymore. I can't with trying to control the conversation and trying to control what other people say and guessing at what people think and trying to determine that somebody is this one thing because of this thing that they said. Like, now you're an enemy to feminism. Like, to me, the response to you is all about this thing where it's like people are pretending that you're presenting yourself as a feminist, but you're not really a feminist, you're a misogynist, but you've never presented yourself as a feminist. You've always been critical of feminism. It's not like you're trying to pass yourself off as something that you're not.
I'm not.
Like, it's like people are trying to call you out on something that I think you're completely open about.
I don't know. I take issue with misogynist, but I'm not going to correct people. If they're going to call me a misogynist, it just like, look at the 104 fucking interviews I've done listening to women.
No,
if I
I don't
hated
think you're a
women,
misogynist.
there's no
That's
way I could pay
ridiculous.
attention to something that much that I dislike. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
Well, then what's not a misogynist? Who gets to not be a misogynist? Somebody who disagrees
Why
with
does it
everything
matter if
that
somebody's a
these
misogynist?
specific
Why does it
people
matter if
say?
somebody's a racist or a sexist or a homophobe or a transphobe? The trans rights activists have used the same freaking pattern of behavior to control the
Totally.
entire conversation. You're a transphobe. It's the same thing as
Yeah.
you're a sexist.
white
You're a misogynist.
supremacist, You're whorephobic.
It's the same thing.
Like
It
all the things that
destroys
are
conversation.
said to me to be like, you can't. I'm gonna completely intentionally misunderstand, not try to understand your position. I'm just gonna call you a name so that nobody listens to you. Like, don't
That
engage
is
with this
objectification.
person. They're
That is
racist.
negative, extreme objectification. You want to bitch about objectification and then assign the word all these negative terms to people that you don't understand and dehumanize them to win your argument. You are objectifying people. You're reducing them into some sort of pale imitation of what a human being is.
Yeah, it's true. I do think that it's dehumanizing. I think it turns people into one-dimensional characters. And that's how cancel culture works, and that's why I oppose it. It's
whole
like,
thing.
you said this one thing, you're a bad person. That's it for you. And it's like, no, that's not how things work. Like, a person is not just one thing. It's not one article they wrote. It's not one tweet. It's not one relationship. It's not one comment.
It's not one argument. It's not one ideology. It's not one cause. You are not a feminist. Any feminist in the comments, listen to me. You're not a feminist. You're a human being who's ascribing to feminism for a very specific reason. And that might be a good reason and might have good results. But you and yourself are not contained within the container of feminism. Even women are not contained in that.
And this is a problem with identity and attaching yourself. Like, your entire identity is this thing. It's like, well, I'm a feminist, so that's it. That's how I perceive the world. This is how I behave in all of my relationships and all my engagements, which is, impossible. You're not just a feminist in every single interaction. You're also just a human being, and you are who you are, and we're all different. But I think that people attach, and I've done this before too, like, if you're so attached to this identity, that I think it clouds your ability to sometimes treat other people as complex human beings and engage in, open, empathetic, I don't know, empathetic's probably not the word, like, open conversations with people to engage in good faith, really, because you're blocked by your ideology and trying to force your ideology on other people, and you're being triggered if they're saying things that don't go along with your ideology, or you're not having the kind of conversation you want to have. I just want to interject for just a minute, just because we don't have to continue, but Shauna says the testosterone is synthetic. My husband has XXY syndrome and has to take it. It's similar to the way T1 diabetics take synthetic insulin, just to answer the question of where the testosterone is coming from.
Thank you. Who said that? Who wrote that?
Shauna,
thank you for that. I had a thought, but I forgot it. It was about ideology.
Sorry, I just wanted to get to that before I missed it. So yeah, anyway, I guess
immaturity. Yeah. There is I think that there's a way to be compassionate to people who. Okay, so it's been very stressful for me, and I'm not acting the victim. And if you think that I'm being a victim, then you can never use the blaming the victim card if you attack me for playing a victim here. But it's just been stressful because there's a lot of information coming my way. There's a lot of attention coming my way, and it's really negative. And I want to take it seriously. And see if I can learn anything from it. But it's difficult for me to withstand or to absorb, because I just absorb attention. Like, I feel the feeling of the person that is feeling towards me.
See, I don't care.
Yeah. You're good like that, so maybe we're a good dual analysis unit, because I care about certain things and you care about others. But
I think maybe I've been attacked for longer than you have, and maybe more. So to me, I'm just
you've probably done more attacking.
I can't
too.
absorb this. Like, I mean, probably, yeah, for sure, yeah.
But I still want to figure out a way to be compassionate to the people who are accusing me of all the worst things, of being a woman hater or a abuser of women. Like, that is the worst thing in my life. Like, to abuse a woman. I have failed women in my life, and I have not been the best man in my life. But that has always been a very important part of my life. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't want to be here if it weren't for women. And you could criticize about my idea of women. I'm trying to learn what a woman is. Maybe there's no such thing as a woman. Maybe there's just like a female body. And it just happens to be something that my male body is prone to pay attention to more than other male bodies. I don't know. But there's a way in which to be compassionate towards those who are being extremely uncompassionate towards me, and trying to say, okay, where are you at in your journey, and try to give you the right kind of information, not even about me, because this is not about me. This is about some sort of crusade, or about saving women from being disparaged, or ridding the English language
women are
of the
going to be
word
tricked
whore.
by you. Like, I'm so stupid that I'm getting used and tricked by you, which is a very feminist argument to make. But like, God, you're such a stupid idiot, man. Like, Megan, like, you're so desperate for like Benjamin to like you that you're being fooled by him. Like, what kind of fucking feminist says that bullshit?
It's so weird how
Like, yeah, I'm a dummy.
lowly.
I'm a big dummy. I'm so easily fooled by people.
You're using me for validation.
naive.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you
I need that.
validation.
I need your validation.
What is validation, and why is it so important in this discussion? Why do feminists, early feminists, young feminists, argue for and against validation or try to rebel against it? Why is that like
I don't know. You're gonna have to be more
point?
specific.
Well, why do they think that why would somebody think that it's an insult to say that you're just looking for male validation?
Because then
Why
I'm
is that?
pathetic and desperate, and I'm not a real feminist, and I'm not actually like, I'm not actually acting with integrity because I'm being blinded by my love of dick. So I'm not to be trusted. The things I say and write in politics can't be trusted, because at the end of the day, I'm really just seeking male validation because I'm just a pathetic, stupid woman.
I think people that think that way are just not at the level of. I don't think that they've built anything. I don't think they've run a small business or actually built a career for themselves. I don't think that you can think that and actually be a functioning adult. That being the case, maybe there are people who are very functional and still think that. I don't know. I'm walking down a blind alley. But it just seems like a lower level of analysis to ascribe people enemy status because they violated some sort of taboo or totem. And I think that the whole thing, and we can probably stop talking about this very, very soon, because I want this over with. I think that what is most important about this little stupid internet instance is that it reflects cultural tides of cancel culture, what we call cancel culture, of purity spirals, purity tests, of people claiming to represent an identity and then throwing people with the same identity under the bus, disingenuousness, insincerity, people using the attention that's being focused on somebody to gain more attention for themselves. Mm-hmm. I think there's a whole, it's just a little microcosm of how people are behaving right now. And I don't know how to solve that, but if you go back to the original tweet and you either laugh at it or laugh it off,
or
the
like,
whole thing.
Wah, wah, wah.
Or even cringe. You can even cringe. It doesn't mean anything.
No.
And we can go back to actually worrying about, let's just say, prostitution, and just informing people about it and having those conversations.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean by what the conversation should be about. I didn't understand what you meant by that. I get it now. Yeah. You're right. Like, it should, we should be, the more important conversation is not like this tweet or whatever. The important conversation was to talk about prostitution. Okay. Yeah,
if you want to use me and not abuse me, you would use that as a chance to promote the Nordic model. Say, this man is using the word whore. I totally disagree with that, but there's something about the Nordic model that people need to understand about, because we don't employ it in Quebec or wherever they don't employ it. You can use the attention for the cause, or you can use it to exert your will upon this stupid guy who writes 20 puns a day. That's all I'm doing. Like, that's all I do. I can't even write
Some
a freaking
nerd.
article. I'm just some nerd in a fedora and an Apple shirt that I bought at the actual Apple campus. I went down and I visited
Jesus
the Apple
Christ.
campus. Because I'm a big
Jesus.
Apple fanboy.
Because you're a big nerd.
I'm just a big nerd.
I don't want to talk about this much more either, but people are kind of like losing their mind in the comments because they're like, it's that he lied. Nobody's trying to cancel him. Like, they're obsessed with this idea,
the cancel.
People are trying to get Benjamin banned because of this tweet.
Okay.
Somebody
that was interesting.
Who cares?
Okay.
I think it's more about the behavior. It's what people said in response to you and then what they said in response to me. Like I don't really care about whether or not anybody was serious. Obviously, somebody reported your tweet and like was trying to get you kicked off, but like whatever. What an uninteresting conversation.
It's so interesting. Let me just tell the story. So Twitter has to obey German law. So a feminist used German law against me. So there's a literal feminazi who came after me. Okay, so
hold on.
I was reported for a tweet where I used a screenshot of somebody else's tweet, and that tweet was that, why are not more people holding Ben Boyce accountable? I don't actually know who Ben Boyce is, but I assumed that it was me. Because I don't know why. So I assumed that it was me. Maybe they didn't actually mean me. But some people sometimes call me Ben. I don't know. So anyways, so I reposted that. And I did not take away her title. So on Twitter, you have like this little handle, right? So I left her name in the screenshot. And usually I'm pretty good because I know that on the chance that something that I tweet goes viral, I don't want somebody to be mobbed. But this person was explicitly calling out somebody with a very close name to me and wanting them to be held accountable. So I figured that they would like to be accountable too. I thought accountability was something very important to them and naming somebody that needs to be accountable. So I left their name in. And that person got mobbed. I retweeted that.
Okay. I didn't know this because people in the comments were saying, what about this person who got piled on? I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't really follow anything. Like I saw some stuff on Twitter and like, I don't know that. And then I just checked out. Like I'm not interested in spending my day on Twitter arguing with a bunch of anonymous people who are saying shitty sexist things to me.
So somebody who wanted a bunch of people to hold Ben Boyce accountable, I laughed at, and I made a tweet saying, twitter.com, where every day is judgment day. Every day somebody gets judged. Every day somebody gets held accountable. I was just laughing at this freaking culture we have. We're going to go around and hold people accountable. I'm going to hold you accountable. Like, you're not freaking God. You're not my mom. You're not my nanny. You're not even my babysitter.
You're actually an anonymous Twitter account, so maybe you should be accountable. Like, how are you going to hold somebody, like you're going to hold this man to account?
So the person complaining about, the people complaining about the pile-on, for the person who wanted somebody else to be held accountable, are actually being... I
don't know who this is. Is this an anonymous account, or this is somebody who's a...
I have no idea. It was just this random person that wanted Ben Boyce to be held account. She doesn't want to be held accountable for wanting Ben Boyce to be held accountable.
Right, gotcha.
That is, I'm sorry to say, hypocrisy. And from where I come from, hypocrisy is a lowly, dirty, invaluable, disrespectful position to hold.
Totally.
I would rather be a whore than a hypocrite.
Qualities. I mean, hypocrisy drives me insane. Irrationality, hypocrisy, phoniness, lack of integrity. But hypocrisy drives me crazy. And I think that
humorlessness too. Let's put that in there too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that you can criticize that kind of behavior when it comes from other people, trans rights activists, whatever, and then engage in the exact same behavior yourself. It's like, you're condoning this kind of behavior. Shutting down conversation by calling people transphobes and, trying to...
Or misogynist.
Or refusing to engage with integrity, and then calling somebody an abuser and violent because they tweeted a pun that you didn't really like.
Okay, last word on this. I spoke with Karen Davis, who's made some videos about me, and I don't want to divulge what she revealed to me, but she made some good points about how she doesn't want the word whore normalized, and she doesn't want that associated as something funny. She wants to respect the dire situation that somebody finds themselves in, the situation of prostitution is in. It is a serious discussion.
Totally.
For my part, I don't obey language rules where you say you can't use this word. I don't obey those rules, but I do try to shed light on grave situations by being light about them. And being light about a situation can shed light about it and not lose the gravitas of the situation. I think it's possible to joke about something and in the joke actually reveal something beyond the joke that needs to be really considered and reconsidered and brought back into attention. And if you're always using one tone of voice to bring attention to you and your cause, nobody will pay attention to you. You'll be a clanging pot that people ignore. You have to use humor. You have to variate your response to things if you want your cause to gain traction in the common wealth of attention.
I think that humorlessness and attacking people really helps change minds. I think the best way to change somebody's mind is by calling them an abusive misogynist and refusing to have any sort of sense of humor and being
know a lot of women who've been
and hyperbolic about everything.
I know a lot of women who've been turned off from being associated with feminism by watching feminists treat me after the way that I've behaved towards women.
I mean, tell me about it, man. It was like, why would I want to associate myself with somebody who called me a dick licker? Anyway.
That's funny. A dick licker is kind of, that sounds funny.
I should. Sorry, I was just going to say something horrible. It's like, it's not untrue.
But you're kind of picky, though. You don't do it for money.
Really picky. No, I am. I'm like turning red now. I'm like, just to be clear, the only men that I engage in those kinds of things with are men who I love and who are my boyfriend and respect me.
And you respect, and that respect you. And that sexual transaction is within a context of respect and mutual desire and consent. And so we don't want to be sex negative.
Like, if
we don't want to
know
devalue
me
sex
and
into a transaction.
you care about me and you love me, then totally, I mean, not you. This other man that I'm in love with. I think he doesn't watch my live streams, so.
I hope he doesn't.
I hope he doesn't.
Because I don't want to get beat up.
I mean, he's a pretty tough guy.
Should we talk about something? Males. Oh yeah, I'm not an alpha male at all. I'm a total beta male. I totally take personal.
Totally.
I'm total soy boy. I'm not a cuck though, and I'm not a misogynist. I care too much about women to rough them up.
Okay, so what should we move on to now? No, I will. Okay, wait, no. Somebody says, Megan, I thought you were single. No, I don't think that I am anymore.
You're spoken for.
I think so. I don't want to, again, hopefully he's not watching this.
I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, man, I was so miserable for a long time. That was like a long, drawn out, sad breakup. Slash then COVID that I had. That was a really hard, shitty, painful relationship also for like 2 years. Yeah. And then we broke up, and then that was really hard. And then we broke up, and I was like being protested by like a million people. And then we were sort of on and off, and still friends, and still like having sleepovers. And then COVID happened, and it was just fucking horrible for a long time. I had a really hard couple of years. I'm like, I had to start crying. And then I left Canada and moved to Mexico, and everything was better.
You did the great reset, Megan style.
I did. I totally did. It was the best thing I've ever done.
Have you are you ready to talk about something you've learned from that breakup? Was there some sort of like very specific pain that you had to figure out about yourself?
I just don't know if I've learned it. Like, I hope that I've learned it, but I'll have to see if I end up in a situation like that again, where somebody's not, giving me really not meeting my needs and making me, not making me, but it was very stressful because he wasn't, he just wasn't showing up. Like, he was not reliable. It was hot and cold, it would sort of be on and off. Like, we'd be in touch all the time, and then I wouldn't hear from him for days. And it was like, I was having to kind of, what I did learn, I was like, I'm not chasing a man around ever again. I'm not trying. Like, he can chase me. Like, he can try. Not that I'm not going to participate in the relationship. Like, if things are equal and there's no game and we're just being ourselves, then I'm going to participate in that way too. I don't want to play games with people. But, I'm not going to, like, the amount of time and energy that I put into trying to deal with what were his problems and being like, sympathetic to, oh, well, he's had this hard life and, he has all this trauma and he doesn't, like, he doesn't know he has attachment issues. And he was my good friend. He's still my good friend. We were close friends and we had a very important
rich and
intellectual connection that was like the basis for our relationship. And he was the person that I talked to about everything and vice versa. And, intellectually, like, he pushed me. I changed a lot of my politics and perspectives because of him. And, and we hung out when I, like, recently, and, we both were, like, we're friends now. And, essentially because I finally got over it, so I could be friends with him again, and it's not like a thing. But, we both were sort of like, I don't know if we'll ever, like, find anybody that we have this particular intellectual connection with. So it's sort of, important that we maintain a friend. There's obviously other people that it's gonna be a better relationship match for me. He's a terrible boyfriend, but he's an okay friend. He was a terrible. He's never gonna be.
Oh, come on! It sounds like he's a valuable friend, not just okay. It sounds like he's a.
I only say okay because I still consider him to be a pretty unreliable person. But he's trying to show up. He's doing a much better job and putting in a lot more effort as a friend to me than he was as a boyfriend. Like, he really wants to show up in our friendship.
Flakeryarchy. He's a part of flakeryarchy.
What? I don't even get like 80% of your puns and jokes. Like, maybe this is why I'm like, what are you talking about? So anyway, what did I learn? Yeah, I'm not chasing men around. Men need to put in more effort, and I think if you feel that stressed out in a relationship that much of a time, then you should bail. Like, you don't just keep trying and trying and trying and chasing and chasing and chasing. You got to try to let it go. So that's sort of what I've tried to do. Like, when I got to Mexico, I was really, really happy being single. I was stoked. I was having a lot of fun. Like, I was meeting a lot of people. I was hanging out by myself, getting in bar fights. I sort of was like, I just decided, I was like, I'm not chasing a man again. If a man wants to be with me, then he's going to have to kind of try. So that's what I've tried to do. But again, I hope that this is a lesson that I've learned, but I can't say if I don't, hopefully this will stick, but I don't know. I can't predict the future. So that if I was with somebody again who was sort of like that, who was sort of flaky and in and out and had all these weird attachment issues, that I would just let it go instead of being pained over it or trying to force it to work when it clearly wasn't working for me.
There's this really interesting concept in psychology, or derived from people studying human beings, and I can never remember. Hopefully chat can help me remember this, if there's anybody in the chat who wants to help me at all anymore.
Can I just point to this feminist comment?
Oh, you can put this up. Male approval desire.
I think this is probably, it's one of those feminists who has a lot of respect for other women. I'm stupid. All I want is like male attention, and I just can't.
This has to be a plant. This is not a serious feminist. Loves women. Lavender Rose. This is a plant.
Maybe it's fake. I don't know.
This has to be.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Because most of the abuse of women that happened under my stupid pun were from very anonymous, low follower accounts. So it could be that the TRAs are trying to break apart feminism. So just if you're a feminist and you disagree with me, but you want to preserve feminism, just be aware that these anonymous accounts could be somebody that's completely playing you, because your ideology allows you to have a very simple rule book of having specific reactions to specific word plays, which means it can be very easily gamed.
Sorry, again, I got distracted by the comments.
No, I had a better thought than that.
Somebody said something about a super chat, and then I was like, did I miss one? But I don't think I did.
Oh yeah, when I worked in Starbucks, and I worked in a very busy Starbucks in a very fancy part of Chicago. It completely corrupted me and ruined my life for some reason. But I learned how to flirt with absolute spot on behavior, and I always maxed out the tip jar because I knew how to flirt with every person, man, woman, not children, but like men and women, whatever. I knew how to elicit their attention, their interest, and wake them up in this really stupid, mundane interaction of getting a cup of coffee. But the thing is that you can be really glittery and flirty the first time, or witty and funny the first time, but if people get used to that, they start expecting that, and they start to disrespect you. So there's this psychological construct of variating your behavior. So you're not always happy to somebody, you're kind of sad somehow. Sometimes it's a very simple psychological construct where you're not always giving somebody positive attention. You give them a little bit of negative attention, and that actually reinforces their interest in you because it wakes them up to the transaction that you woke them up into. So it might be the case, I'm really going out on a limb here. It might be a case that it's very attractive for you to have somebody who is unavailable, somebody who's changeable, because it's always exciting. You never know. It's like a gamble. You never know if he's going to be there or if he's going to be gone. And I think that certain people, males and females in close relationships who are not really content and stable in their lives, know that they can elicit a consistent interaction with people by being on one day and off another. We have a predilection.
It's like kind of emotional abuse.
I don't think it's abuse because, well, it's not comfort. Okay, we use that
on
term.
And off, push and pull, hot and cold, and it's a way to control and manipulate people and
it's manipulative.
Keep them in a state of stress and wanting that validation again. And because you're like, why are they being mean? I want them to be nice to me again. And then and they're like, oh, okay. And then they turn it off again, and you're like, I want that niceness back again.
Yeah. I think that it's okay to be that way in a non-personal relationship, a transactional relationship, such as a barista or a YouTube star, to variate your attention, or a Twitter user to variate the quality of your content, to go from silly to sincere, to always keep the audience guessing. It's abusive when you're doing that to a direct human being that you're trying to be in a relationship with, who expects like a consistency and a full human contact from. So there's a way of doing that even within your close, intimate relationships that keeps things a little exciting, but it's not going overboard. So it's still on a spectrum. You don't like it? Don't you ever just deny somebody something because you know that they'll want
only
it more
because
tomorrow?
I feel insecure in that relationship and I don't trust them. If you're in a trusting relationship and you don't feel insecure, then why would you play with somebody like that? I would pull away because I would be like, well, clearly this person has attachment issues, and so they don't actually want all my attention. Like people who are avoidant are turned off by attention and love and intimacy. So you have to play this game where you're distant, but that's not natural to me. I don't want to be like that. I just want to be myself. So that's I don't enjoy doing that to people. But I mean, yes, sometimes I have felt that I had to engage in that behavior to deal with how this other person was, but I don't really think that's the right kind of way to engage in relationships.
I think, okay, in a relationship with, in a student-teacher relationship, and I learned this I shouldn't talk about this. Actually, I don't trust your audience to talk about like my real life lessons, but there are certain relationships with children where you want to variate your response, where you don't want to give them praise every single time. You want to show them that you're not quite impressed with them, to give them the opportunity to strive harder. It's still on a spectrum. I think most psychopathology and most abuse is actually on a spectrum where it's turning up a certain sort of adaptive behavior that's actually kind of good to its unhealthy extreme. And I think that the on and off behavior is a attractive trap and abusive in certain. You're always typing on your thing. I'm always punning. You're always typing. No, do your typing thing. I just lose attention when you lose attention in me.
Sorry, I know. I shouldn't. I do, because then I'm like, okay. I know.
It's gone.
Continue.
I'm just saying that there's certain ways in which on again, off again attention is good for a child and is good for your partner and is good for yourself in small measurements. I think I would challenge you, maybe by the time we
if
speak
it's natural for you, then do it, but not if it's something that's forced and you have to do, like it's like a game to kind of get the person or get them to feel a certain way. But I don't think you should be all out. I mean, I don't think you should. I don't think in a relationship it should just be like, I'm available all the time. Take all of me. Why not take all of me? Can't you see? But I think I already am. You know, I have a lot going on in my life, so I'm never just available to somebody all the time because I'm busy and there's other things that I like to do, and you know, like my work takes up a large chunk of my life, and I you know, I'm passionate about that, and I have an active social life, and I have hobbies and so I'm not ever just sitting around being like, hang out with, like, I don't want to hang out with somebody all day, every day, blah, 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 blah. But no, I don't like that. But maybe, I mean, that works for some people. It doesn't work for me.
I'm not advocating manipulative behavior. I'm just saying that there's certain games that we play that keep things fresh and exciting. And in a little bit of measure, in the correct measure, and it's really difficult to measure this. Yeah. Being aware that giving positive regard to somebody all the time actually turns them off.
Yeah. I don't want to be smothered or be like, you're so great, you're the best, I love you. I'm like, it's a bit suffocating and nauseating. Okay. But I mean, I'm not. Yeah. Okay.
I understand I absolutely understand your wariness, and I would advise people to be aware of this sort of behavior and what if they're being turned on by being in a relationship with somebody that's playing with them, either because that person is insecure or they're actually being intentional about that, because not everybody is doing most of the things intentionally. So gauge that, but gauge that your response is that you want a little bit of that because it's turning you on. It's turning you on to have somebody that's not turned on by you. You want to turn them on. That makes you try a little harder. It makes you try a little harder. It makes you strive for their attention. Does that not concentrate your attention to have somebody who's really into you and then not?
Yes, but I don't think that's necessarily healthy.
It's not healthy because it's extreme. You want a little bit of that. Somebody who's like, oh, maybe in an hour.
I want somebody who has their own life, who's not like obsessed with me and is not just like somebody who's like off doing something else and maybe forgets about me sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
So
like,
they can
I should be like that too. Well, no, I just mean like you just shouldn't be like hyper focused on your partner.
Who has time for that?
Well, some people do, you know, codependent people.
23-year-olds?
And I've been in codependent relationships before. When I was in my 20s.
So there's independent, codependent, and dependent. Is there like a proper form of like, we rely on each other enough to get things done? Isn't that sort of like a spectrum of codependency?
Codependency is like an AA thing. Like it comes from like Codependent No More is a good book if people are interested in.
Oh, really?
Codependence.
How did you learn about that one?
Somebody recommended it to me. I think a couple of people recommended it to me. And also I was in a relationship with an addict when I was like 30. And so I did a lot of therapy like I went to therapy through addiction services. So it was like therapy for people. It was called like addiction affected or something like that. So most of the people who were using the service were addicts, but then also if you were dealing with somebody in addiction, you could go. So I found
if you were addicted to somebody who was addicted to something other than you,
well, you just start to get hyper focused on what they're doing all the time, and you really forget about yourself and your own needs, and you get a lot of anxiety because you're dealing with somebody who is unpredictable and might disappear or might show up drunk or high or might not. Maybe you'll get to go to this event, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll get to go to the family dinner, maybe you won't, because this person might show up fucked up. And you're sort of constantly trying to manipulate situations to try to keep them in check, and like you just, all of your energy and thoughts in your life becomes about this person and what they're doing, and not about you and your life and what you're doing. So
I glanced at the chat. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Maybe that's their game all along. If they abuse me enough, I'll love them more. They're hitting on me, but like hockey players do.
Maybe they're playing that game with you.
They're playing that game.
I mean, like, what is that guy's? Neil Strauss. You know, the game? I didn't actually read the game, but I read The Truth, which is what Neil Strauss wrote after the game, and he realized that he was like avoidant and really fucked up and engaging.
Oh wait, this is the red pill guy?
No. He was like that. You treat women like shit, and that's how you get them. That guy.
Red pill. I don't.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know that was a red pill thing.
Yeah, he went hardcore. He went into Islam, I think. He went like he had a full spiritual conversion, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it's interesting. I glanced at the chat. People are still like impugning intent to me. They're like,
people are
this
still
guy
saying, we didn't try to ban you. Stop lying, you liars. We have the receipts. And I'm like, oh, what are you talking? I don't know. This is not that important. They can't prove. I don't really. Okay, you weren't trying to ban him. I don't know. Who cares?
Right. I know that they wanted to. They wanted to report me. It doesn't really matter. I think that they wanted. Well,
they would like to deplatform you. That's the truth. I mean, whenever people attack me and try to call me a racist or misogynist or a transphobe or a victim blamer, at the end of the day, I think it's that people think that I have a platform that I don't deserve, and that they deserve that platform instead, and they want to build that platform by tearing me down. But like. It's like, oh, she's a fraud. And it's like, I just don't. I mean, I feel like people who try to cancel me don't realize how many times people have tried to cancel me over the past decade. Everybody has tried to cancel me, and I'm not going to get, I'm just going to keep working. And if people want to pay attention and listen and they're into it, then great. And if they're not, then they can go pay attention to something else. That's fine. I can't please everybody. I don't want, that's impossible. I don't want to try to please everybody.
Yeah, displease some of the people some of the time. I want to give the critics of the tweet and all the ensuing stupid drama their due. I don't apologize. If you want to hold somebody accountable and say their name on the internet, don't expect to not be held accountable for that. That's motherfucking hypocrisy.
Yeah. It's like, I get to talk about you, but you don't get to talk about me.
Yeah. You can't play the victim after trying to victimize somebody with your hate. You can't play this hate game. So I would advise people to not play the hate game whatsoever, because it's stupid, and you yourself will eventually be pilloried. This whole movement has done more damage to the image of feminism than anything that I have done. I've actually spent a lot of time doing everything I can to listen deeply and give women a voice, and also give women a place to come where they can listen to other women telling their stories without the imposition of a man, except every once in a while when he asks the right questions. Maybe he doesn't ask the right questions, but you don't want me to stop asking questions, so don't attack me when I ask the right questions. I hate that the story's about me. I hate it. I know. But they keep on attacking me. They keep on impugning intent.
Just ignore them.
It's not about me.
Don't worry about them. Who cares?
I know. Well, thank you for this opportunity to just lay it all out. It's a really stupid story. We went through all the main points. maybe that person who wanted to hold me accountable didn't deserve the attention that they got. And don't play with fire if you want to burn
I
somebody.
don't know if you're going to attack somebody, expect somebody to
If you're going to try to set somebody on fire, don't expect to not get burned. Don't play the game if you can't deal with it. And I've played the game. I don't like the game. I don't like insulting people and having people mad at me, but I will continue to do that because it's more important for me to have fun than it is for me to obey your arbitrary, fragile rules of engagement.
I think at the end of the day, you just have to try to not worry so much about what people say about you on Twitter. I mean, just ignore it. Like, toughen up, man.
I'm sorry that you're not on there anymore. You had so much fun. You got booted. How's your lawsuit?
Way more fun if I had I lost it. It would have been way more fun if I had my Twitter account back. But then Joe Rogan wouldn't have talked about me today, so maybe.
You got it, Rogan?
Well, he mentioned me. Well, this is like the third time he's mentioned me. He mentioned me in another interview today, and I'm so frustrated because I want to go on the show, and because he keeps. I mean, I'm really appreciate his support, and he gets it essentially, but he sort of keeps flubbing what happened, and I don't think he totally understands my perspective, and I just want to be able to speak for myself. And also, I know that I would be a really good guest on Rogan, and I'm just like,
okay,
come on. Like,
I would be a terrible guest on Rogan, but I have his ear. Maybe we would be a good. Maybe we would be a good
get
dual
off my
guest.
jock, man.
Okay,
no,
I would. Your jock? Get off your jock.
I'm
like
male
you're strapped.
identified.
Get off my jock.
That's probably what also radical feminists are saying about me is I'm male identified. I've seen.
That's so weird. It's so weird. I don't think that those people should come to represent radical feminism. I don't think the people who are being incredibly misogynistic in the name of feminism should be able to claim the mantle of feminism. And I will continue to find voices and interesting people who are feminists and try to platform them and listen to them. I have some great interviews coming up with a mom who's fighting like hell to save women's sports. She's an amazing woman.
Beth?
Like I will. It is Beth. Yeah. Beth.
Stelzer? Yeah. I know her. I did an event
hardcore
with her before COVID.
She's so Minnesota.
And then I've interviewed her. Yeah, she's awesome.
She's great.
Yeah.
So I'll keep on continuing to fight for women. I'm not going to fight for your ideology, but I'm going to fight for women.
So, okay, I know we're not talking about this anymore, but people keep yelling. People assume that I know much more than I know. They're like, why are you talking about the woman that got banned and the woman that got... And I was like, I don't know
the woman that got
who you're
banned.
talking about.
Okay. These are the Karen...
somebody got banned. I don't know, why are you acting like I'm not addressing this thing that I don't spend my fucking life on Twitter. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know.
Okay, let me lay down everything that I know. So some account got actually banned from Twitter that was really intimately engaged with the discussion around my really stupid ass pun.
Was it a real person or was it just some anonymous account or what?
This person contacted this other person called Karen Davis, who's done several videos about me. I've had her on my channel, and I thought she was really amazing, but she's decided that I'm worthy of her negative attention. I don't know exactly what's going to come of that. So I don't know what's going on with her perception of me, but she's made several videos about me. And from what I gather, because I'm not going to watch these videos, because if I ever do engage with Karen, I want it to be creative and not critical, because that's how I like to run things. So I'm going to wait for us to be in a good mood to do that. But she's done a video about this woman who got kicked off Twitter and contacted Karen saying, I've been kicked off of Twitter. I've been banned from Twitter. And I retweeted that this woman's been kicked off Twitter. And I said, I don't approve. I don't think people should be weaponizing the report function. I think that people should have, and I actually retweeted Karen's video, her first video, tearing me a new front hole, or back hole. No. I don't know which hole she was trying to tear me, but she was trying to tear me a hole. I retweeted that and say people should have the ability to say what they want to say.
Okay. Yeah, I think I saw that tweet. I don't think I actually watched the video though.
The kicker is that this person was slandering and attacking for hours and hours and hours a female who was telling this person to either laugh off or laugh at my joke. This woman was attacking, this so-called feminist account was attacking an actual female that I know in person for defending me or deflecting attention from me, being very abusive, calling this person all these negative attention. So we don't know what got this person banned. It could
Why
be
is
the
it
case.
my fault or your fault? I don't understand why they're.
I don't know. This is the weird. This is.
I don't
this
even
is,
know
it's-
what this is about or who.
It's a
they're talking
really
about.
weird string of assigning intent. So you're for whatever reason, the people who are calling them feminists, themselves feminists about this issue are imputing so much intent that isn't actually there. They're imputing evil intent, misogyny, abuse, cuckoldry, or the handmaidendry, all this stuff. And because you're doing that, you guys you're not actually stapling your narrative to truth. So you're imputing all this intent up to and including Twitter that's ruled by algorithms that aren't even ruled by the people that program them. There are algorithms on Twitter and on YouTube that automatically delete and ban accounts if they start to perceive certain sorts of behavior. We do not know who got this person banned. People keep on calling me slandering my audience as MRAs. There's a lot of women that listen to me very, very closely and give me really reasoned arguments when I go astray and when I'm doing a good job. And when they disagree with feminists, they're called MRAs. These women that have been with me for years are being called men's rights activists and incels when they disagree with this really small contingent of radical feminists or people who claim the mantle of radical feminism. So you guys really need to individually think through what you are assuming about other people, because it's making you look like asses. It's making you look like asses to the broader world. You are undermining the project of feminism by not acting very rationally and reasonably and checking your assumptions at every single level. That's I don't know who I'm talking to there, but I'm trying to sum up a phenomena that I'm seeing.
I mean, the other thing is that this is just really like an insider baseball thing. Like, it's like a bunch of people have gotten themselves really like hyped up over something that happened, and they've blown this out of proportion into some big thing. And I wasn't involved. Like, I don't know. And they sort of assume that everybody understands and that everybody knows, and that why is everybody denying or not being honest? I'm like, I don't know who all these people are. I'm not in your Facebook groups or your Twitter groups or whatever it is, and I don't want to be. I would prefer to operate independently for a reason. But all the anger is like they've worked themselves up over days, being like, this is a story and people are lying and they know what they're doing. And I'm like,
you're
no,
playing
like,
themselves.
Really, I've just been
playing
working.
themselves.
Like, I've been very busy doing other things that have
they're
nothing to
playing
do with
themselves.
this, and I really haven't thought about it all that much.
I have so much work going on. It all comes down to this word orthodoxy that this geek wrote in his bed at 6:30 in the morning after not getting any sleep that night. That the whole thing is about some stupid sentence.
Oh, the other thing that they're mad at, they're like, but you called this banning Benjamin Boyce. And I was like, yeah, I was trying to make a joke. And then a day later, I was like, oh, now it's not a joke. It's like, yes.
Wait, you were using an alliteration? So you're like playing with words too.
Benjamin Boyce. Like, I was using hyperbole as a joke. Like,
these people you need to study rhetoric. They need to study rhetoric and poetics. You guys have to understand. Have a sense of humor and like a freaking capacity to interpret language in more than one way. Like, listen to an Eminem album and not get offended. Just listen to what he's doing with language.
Somebody just said we were bad at jokes. That may be true. We may be pretty bad.
We're horrible. That's what makes it so terrible. They're
It's
mad at
obviously a
horrible
stupid
jokes.
joke. And it wouldn't be like genius. It's like I was just trying to come up with a title. I was trying to use alliteration. I was like, what? And I was like, I'll just use this. Like, what? I didn't think it was particularly intelligent, guys. Believe it.
Don't be literal. Don't be literal. Be flexible. Use different. Reframe your analysis of events. Practice doing that, because you're losing information if you can't look at it in more than one way. They get so mad at me for reframing this reframing thing, but if you don't do it, you're brittle and you're totally easily played. You're totally easily played by an algorithm and a douchebag with a cell phone.
There are people who really don't understand jokes. I think that there's sincerely a lot of people who kind of don't get jokes and sarcasm, because a lot of people get, like, I'm very sarcastic and I write a lot of like satire kind of stuff, and a lot of people will get it, and some people will be like, what the fuck? Like, and get really, and I was like, oh, you just don't have a sense of humor. Like, I don't know how to help you with this.
I don't judge those people, but when they're judging me, I don't judge people, but when you're judging me, I have to push back. So I play the troll when people are judging me. If you want to be played, then let's play this stupid tetherball game. I don't take it seriously. I take seriously negative attention. I do. I can't stop doing that because I need to keep my heart open for my interviews. When I'm interviewing somebody, my heart needs to be absolutely open so that their heart opens up. So I have to constantly be vulnerable all the time on the internet. You gonna put something on there about my vagina?
No, I thought this comment was actually funny. Somebody said, "Why don't you reframe this experience, Benjamin?" It's funny.
Reframe this. Is that like the derivative Robert De Niro, and then reframe this? It's okay. Yeah. So there's Sopranos, and then there was Analyze This with Robert De Niro and Billy Crystal, and then they did a sequel called Analyze That, which was even worse. So it was a derivative movie to begin with on a wordplay on an Italian stereotype. I'll reframe everything. I'm fine. I've reframed how many things. If you guys want me to reframe infinitely, I'm a postmodernist. There is no end to how many frames I have at my disposal. I can destruct myself, but I'm not going to do that because there's certain values that I have to hold to. Anyways,
I have to pay attention to the super chat. I know, it's terrible. What a boring live stream.
Exactly.
Somebody says Benjamin reframe. It's a super chat, so I have to say it. Benjamin, it's like the rule. Benjamin, reframe and understand your critics here. I mean, I would argue that the critics are not really making any sense and don't really have an argument. They're just hyper-focused on this lie that a radical feminist tried to get Benjamin banned, and I just don't care, and that's not interesting. Sorry. It was a joke. He tweeted a joke. People freaked out.
Okay. Are we done? We should probably we should probably go pee. It's been 2 hours.
Yeah,
I think
we had some pee. Why don't you reframe your bladder? I think this will be the source of many good jokes to come.
Okay.
That's what I should have called the fucking live stream.
Reframe this. You can rename it when we're done.
Next time.
Yeah. You can just do it when we're done, and make sure that when monetization happens, that they don't give you 20 freaking advertisements into the discussion. Just cut it down to 4.
I don't know. I kind of enjoyed this conversation, and that's the most important thing.
I think it was good. I think we had to deal with very stupid, vain, lowly things.
I feel bad because I felt like a lot of people. I felt like people would tune in and be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" It's Twitter, but whatever. Anyway,
I think we pushed through the ovum, or the what's the amniotic sac of this issue. And we've pushed it out. The water's fallen, and now we have the issue. It's out in the open. Somebody else can suckle it. We can go on to the next issue.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm using a very offensive.
Gross.
I've been seeing. Can I say one more thing before we go?
Yeah, I don't have to pee, so knock yourself out.
You don't have to pee. You're an amazing woman. I guess
I always pee right before the live stream.
Well, yeah, but I've been working on bourbon the whole time. I have this drive that I do every day in this wooded area, totally secluded from the world. And I drive it. It's about 2 hours a day. I have to drive this thing. And yesterday, I saw 2 baby lambs that were born on Saturday, and 2 baby fawns that must have been like a week old, and then a whole bunch of bunnies. I was like living in Bambi land. It was so beautiful. I just think that the world is so beautiful right now. And I just think life is just so beautiful. Life is so beautiful.
I agree. Just so happy and full of joy, and I just can't. The reality is that if you're in like a negative space and you're kind of insecure and you hate your life, then you're really gonna lash out at other people. You project at other people. I've been there. And when you're like happy and joyful and good, then you just can't be bothered because you're just focused on enjoying your life and you're not gonna try to shit on other people. And that may sound condescending, but I don't think it's condescending because I'm speaking from my own experiences. Maybe
I don't have the authority, but I think I agree with you. I see what you're saying. I agree with it, but I wouldn't say it myself because I don't have the authority to say it. But I support you in being authoritative, telling people to grow the fuck up and get a sense of humor. And
well, no, it's not
outside.
even that. I just feel like I just feel bad because I feel like it's like you guys are so angry and unhappy, and I know that people don't like to hear that, and I don't know if there's much that you can do about it. But the truth is that like happy, well-rounded people who are busy and have full, interesting lives don't spend their time all day on Twitter trying to attack people and destroy people and try to tear them down and cancel them or whatever.
Attach so much meaning to something that doesn't exist in the thing. That shows some sort of. If you're attaching too much meaning to something that's not actually there, you're not in control of the situation. You're not in control of yourself. You're being led by some sort of imaginary desire. You need to back away from any sort of ideology or thought pattern that causes you to see the intention in all these different things. There's an intention there, intention there, intention there. All these negative intentions. Free yourself. And the rest will follow. Is that salt and pepper?
Free your mind, and the rest will follow.
Who was that? That wasn't Salt and Pepper.
I think it's En Vogue.
Oh, En Vogue. Never gonna get it, never gonna get it. Now it's time for a breakdown.
I saw Salt and Pepper at the Peony a couple of years ago, and they were so good still.
Really?
They were like on it. Yeah, I was so impressed.
Great to hear. I would do my paper route and listen to them.
At the Peony, which is like, I don't know, like Playland or whatever, they do these summer concert series, and they're usually like washed up. Like they're like the Beach Boys, but it's not the Beach Boys. It's not Brian Wilson. It's like a Beach Boy and a bunch of other guys, and they're not allowed to actually do any of the Beach Boys song by contract. But so a lot of it, excuse me, is shitty or disappointing. But Salt and Pepper was not disappointing.
Really?
Those chicks are still like such good dancers, and
Let's talk about all the apples.
Yeah, that's one of the Salt and Pepper songs.
That could be.
You're making me mad now.
Snacks. Let's talk about snacks.
I just tried to roll my entire eye back into my brain.
I saw that. You're getting really good.
Eye roll.
You're getting really good at that. Someday you're gonna do the full 360. That should be a gymnastic exercise for internet users.
Oh my god, I would love that. Okay, so
all right.
do we have anything else to talk about?
We're gone. We should
close up. We've
angered
angered people as much as we can. I don't know if we can
or displeased. Yeah, they're not going to stop being angry. It doesn't matter. See, this is the thing. You guys never compromise, so there's no compromising with you. So you're hitting the same note over and over and over again.
Nobody ignored you, PM Berkeley. Jesus Christ. All we did was pay attention to you. We just don't agree with you. Okay, I might be getting drunk now.
Okay, yeah. But that should one last thing. ill behavior of people who can't manage their emotions and can't actually rationally think through an argument, don't have a sense of humor, should not stain the project of feminism, which I think is bigger than what feminism has yet manifested. I think the project of feminism, truly thought of, is greater than any instance of feminism that we've seen so far. It's yet to be fully described what a woman is and how she should be treated and respected. The end.
People want to have power over people that they perceive as having power. I don't.
I have a microphone and a need to create more content. That's all I have.
Yeah. I've spent 10 years writing. Most of that was writing for free, and fucking kill me, man. I'm the most powerful woman in the world. I run a website. I've been banned from Twitter. I survive on donations from people who support my work.
What's your Patreon?
Patreon.com/Megan Murphy. Please do support my work. I know that nobody in the comments supports my work because I'm a dick licker, but if any of you guys out there...
Can you be a lick dicker? Would I, if we're involved in that transition?
You're making me hate like puns and like wordplay.
Could you just press end so I can go pee?
Okay.
All
Guys,
right,
thanks for tuning in. That was really fun. I actually did have fun. I always have fun on these live streams.
This is a good time. Good time.
See you again very soon. See you all again soon. Take good care. I hope that you all find happiness and joy and a nice man. That was a joke.
Maybe it wasn't, though.
A nice alpha. Okay, bye everyone. Thanks for coming.